If you love flavored coffee creamer, then this is the video for you. I'm showing you how to make a few different recipes with my favorite peppermint mocha coffee creamer. You're not going to want to miss it. Hey everyone, it's Dorothy with crazyforcrust.com. We're talking all about adding coffee creamer to recipes today. I have several different ones I want to show you, so follow me if you haven't already, and let's get started. Okay, so it's important to note you can use any brand coffee creamer and you can use any flavor, but I'm using peppermint mocha today because that's the best flavor, of course. We're starting with 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter that I'm melting in this pot. Once that is all melted, you're going to whisk in 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Once that's all nice and smooth, go ahead and whisk in 1/4 cup of peppermint mocha coffee creamer and 3 3/4 cups of powdered sugar. Make sure you add that powdered sugar slowly because you don't want it to, end up wearing it. So just kind of slowly add that in and then whisk it together until it's nice and smooth. You're also going to add in 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. You could also use peppermint extract for some even more peppermint flavor. Then just whisk that together until it's all nice and smooth. Make sure this is over low heat. Stir it constantly. You don't want it to burn. Once it's all mixed together, it's going to be a thick mixture. Once there's no lumps that remain, you're going to pour this into an 8x8 inch pan that's been lined with foil and sprayed with nonstick cooking spray. You could use parchment. I recommend an 8x8 or smaller pan. If you use a 9x9 pan, it's going to be pretty thin, but an 8x8 pan is perfect. Spread that out until it's nice and all into that pan. And then I'm going to top this with little peppermint crunch pieces. These are you can find these at the grocery store. It's like candy canes that have been crushed up, so it takes most of the work out of it. Then let that set, and you have a creamy, rich, chocolatey fudge that's flavored with peppermint mocha coffee creamer. This is to die for. It's perfect. Next up, Peppermint Ganache Pie, and I have 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream and 1/4 cup of that peppermint flavored coffee creamer. I'm heating that up until it's just simmering or just before simmering, adding it to some chocolate chips, let it sit for about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to whisk that together until the chocolate is all melted into the cream and the coffee creamer. Now, yeah, we're just making ganache, basically. This is a Peppermint Ganache Pie. Again, you can use any brand or any flavor coffee creamer to make whatever flavor you want. I love flavoring chocolate ganache this way. It's super simple. I love making ganache with chocolate chips because I always have them in my pantry. Just whisk that until it's smooth. Once it's nice and smooth, you're going to add this into your pie crust. Now, I'm using an Oreo pie crust today because it's a peppermint chocolate pie, and chocolate and peppermint go so well together. But you could use any kind of pie crust that you want, especially if you're using a different flavor. Sprinkle that with more of those peppermint pieces, those chopped candy cane pieces, and then let the pie set for, it's going to take at least 4 hours in the refrigerator for that to set and get nice and firm so that you can slice it. And once it's sliced, it's like eating peppermint ganache in a pie crust. And lastly, we're going to make brownies with this peppermint mocha coffee creamer. So I'm going to melt together 6 ounces of baking chocolate with a cup of unsalted butter. Once that's melted and smooth, I'm stirring in 2 cups of granulated sugar. It's going to be grainy. You can see that here. It'll mix together, but it'll be grainy. And to that, I'm going to add 4 large eggs, 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I'm also adding 1 packet of that Via coffee creamer, or it's about 1 1/4 teaspoons of instant coffee if you don't have the Via. Stir it together until it's mixed, and then you're going to add 1 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour and just stir that in. It's going to be a nice thick brownie batter that you're going to add to a 9x13 inch pan. Make sure that it's sprayed with nonstick cooking spray. I love to use the foil for easy removal. Bake that until it comes together and a toothpick comes out clean about 1 inch from the edge. I'm going to make a frosting. This is where my coffee creamer comes in. I've got 1/4 cup of melted butter, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. I'm adding a cup of powdered sugar and some of that peppermint mocha coffee creamer, about 2 tablespoons or a little bit more depending on the thickness that you want of your glaze. This is a pourable glaze that will kind of somewhat set. You can make it thicker by adding less. You can make it thinner by adding more. And then just pour that all over the brownies. You don't even need to wait for them to cool. Spread it out and then let the brownies and the frosting kind of cool and set. And then once you slice them, these are rich and fudgy. You can see how thick these are. These are so delicious. I love brownies, but these have so much extra coffee flavor from that added coffee and peppermint flavor from the extract, and the frosting has that creamer in it. I'm sprinkling this with more peppermint chips so you know what's inside. So absolutely delicious. Basically, if a recipe calls for milk, you can just swap out coffee creamer. Any flavor works. I know you're gonna love these recipes. Leave me a comment and let me know what you want me to make with coffee creamer next, and keep watching for even more desserts.